I just thought I would make a. This is Chloe. This is my one of my furry friends. Anyway, I just thought I would make a video about why I practice kung fu, why I teach kung fu, and the answer is really simple. Of course, it's that I love kung fu, and as to why, I mean, there's a bunch of things in my opinion to love about it, but for me, it keeps me relatively sane. I think that the sort of non-tangible benefits are the most relevant for me. But I think the reason why you'd be interested in Kung Fu or in Silat or any kind of martial art, especially a traditional martial art, is going to vary a lot. And but the best reason to do it is because you love it, because you have an interest in it. If you want to win MMA fights, I think that you should go to an MMA gym. So, and that's really why I bring this up. I bring it up because everything in the world, in the martial arts world now, is compared to MMA, at least online. And I mean, still among older people, at least, I still hear the oh, is that like karate? So, I suppose that's the karate is the benchmark for older people, at least. But it seems for younger people, everything is the UFC, everything is MMA, which is fine. MMA and UFC have earned their place. However, I think that I think a lot of why they've earned their place is a level of unconsciousness as to the true purpose of the arts themselves. If you're doing MMA, well, if you're fighting in MMA, you may have a bunch of personal reasons for doing it, but the socioeconomic reason that you're doing it is to make money for the promoters and to fight for the entertainment of others, of the spectators. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. I think fighters are grossly underpaid, but the fact that spectator sports perform a social good, a sort of vicarious catharsis, or maybe not catharsis, but at least a sort of a vicarious outlet for people's aggression. I think that that's extremely valuable, and combat sports aren't the only sport that does that, but combat sports obviously do that very well. So I'm certainly not trying to suggest that MMA is in any way not socially beneficial, but I do think that young people form a kind of warrior ethos. They think that if they're going to train in MMA, it's equivalent of them being like a Spartan warrior or something like that, or a samurai. And you just no, you got to join the military for that. And of course, if you join the military, you're going to be shooting things or or operating machinery and perhaps never seeing combat, which is which is important, which is great, and and again, I'm not at all denying the preeminence of the fighting skills of MMA fighters, because it's obvious, and I'm also not denying the general premise that combat sports training is the best, most effective way or most efficient way to learn fighting skills, and thus also the fighting skills that are valuable in self-defense, because of course fighting and self-defense are not the same thing. But I think that we have to be conscious of these things. So if you are doing martial arts because you want to, be a warrior, then you've got to understand that it's kind of a power fantasy. So that's fine, but, be self-aware of that power fantasy. And that's true whether it's MMA or whether it's traditional martial arts. I think a lot of the toxicity in traditional martial arts could be done away with if we just stopped pretending to have superpowers. I know that sounds, it almost sounds ridiculous to say it out loud, but that's what traditional martial artists do all too often, right? And that's why people stay in a traditional school year after year after year after year, even though they're not really making progress. You know, even if they spar with someone else from another school, or even just someone who's not particularly well trained, and they don't do well, but they keep going, they keep training. They're like, well, I just don't have it yet. It's because they believe that either their teacher or someone in their lineage had some sort of remarkable abilities that are beyond what we normally see. And, you know, who knows? You know, we don't know what took place in the past. I'm not discounting all of it. We can't be completely close-minded. I mean, certainly people are pulling stuff off in MMA now that 20 years ago, or, you know, certainly like 28 years ago, let's say, people said couldn't be done. You know, so who knows? Who knows? But you know, we've got to admit that most of those stories about the past masters are massive, gross exaggerations, and some of them are probably just pure inventions. So if we're going to do kung fu or whatever martial art we're doing, if we're engaging in a power fantasy, we need to be self-aware about it. No. Sorry, I yelled at the dog. And the best reason to do any martial art is because you have a love for it, for whatever reason that is. I think traditional martial arts are not all about fighting. They're not all about fighting. Traditional martial arts teachers will say that, but no one listens. I certainly didn't listen when I was younger. When I was 15, I got into it because I wanted to kick ass, not because of any other reason. And probably if I were 15 now, I would do MMA. I'm sure I would do MMA, or I would do some variation, or some combination, I mean, of you know, combat sports training. I probably wouldn't do traditional martial arts now, but maybe I would. I don't know. But the reason I still do traditional martial arts is because it benefits me, it benefits my life, and because I love doing it. So traditional martial artists need to embrace the fact that their arts have goals and objectives and purposes that are beyond fighting, but they also need to be realistic about not only their own fighting skills, but they also, I don't think that you can do traditional martial arts, even Tai Chi for instance, you're not really being authentic if there's no fighting aspect at all. So I don't think that as a traditional martial, I don't think it's fair to hold a traditional martial artist, even a teacher or a master, to the standard of, oh, they have to be able to beat pro MMA fighters, because they don't serve the same purpose. So there's no why should I need to be able to beat a pro MMA fighter? I don't need to beat a pro MMA fighter. There's no purpose to that at all, in my opinion. But if I can't fight at all, then that's a problem. So traditional martial artists should be able to, they should have some fighting skill, even if that isn't their primary focus. Even if your primary focus is health, or, you know, social betterment, or history, or, you know, aesthetics. Yeah. Anyway, I have to go break up a fight between the cat and the dog. But thank you very much for listening. Bye for now.